did you go there? A light spark. That's not an issue. But a grandparent getting an object and beating the child and saying this, and then CFS is involved, or CFS would, that provision doesn't cover the grandparents. That's an assault already. So grandparents should be careful. Parents, we immigrants should enlighten our parents and let them know that, oh, this is not allowed. If a child does something, let the parents know, and so they can do the correction themselves, just so that they can be safe. Because the law mentioned those that can use the force, and grandparents are not there.
Rutherfohrd. Right, welcome to episode 2 on Chat with Rutherfohrd, and we are still talking about child and family services. If you haven't seen episode 1, I urge you to go see that, because we got to talk about what is CFS and the rights generally. And I have Barrister Fumi here in the studio with me, who has been shedding light on this particular topic. So now we'll be going deeper into real life situations, the misunderstandings and what happens when things escalate. A lot of immigrants will bring our parents to come and help us take care of the kids, who are definitely their grandparents, to the kids. Now, let's go to the Criminal Code Section 43, reasonable correction. The way that section covers parents, does it also cover grandparents?
Okay, so Section 43 of the Criminal Code is clear. Specifically mentions school teachers, parents, and persons standing in the place of the parent.
Okay.
So now, a grandparent who comes around, for example, 2 months, we want to check, is this grandparent standing in the place of a parent? So in law, if you are the type that you take decisions for a child, you do everything for the child, then we can safely say that, oh, this person stood in the place of a parent. But for grandparents, because most of them just come around maybe 3 months, 6 months, and the parents are still involved. It's not as if they left and then the grandparents took over. So in that situation, the law didn't mention grandparents. And if you also look at it closely, you can see that the grandparents are just there temporarily.
Yeah.
And they are not standing in the place of a parent. So that provision does not cover them. It doesn't cover them. But I know that it's a part of most immigrants, to spank, to hit the child. So though the law does not cover, but if a grandparent spanks a child on the butt, I don't think that's an issue.
Oh, okay.
Oh, why did you go there? A light spank. That's not an issue. But a grandparent getting an object and beating the child and saying this, and then CFS is involved, or CFS would, that provision doesn't cover the grandparents. That's an assault already. So grandparents should be careful. Parents, we immigrants should enlighten our parents and let them know that, oh, this is not allowed. If a child does something, let the parents know, and so they can do the correction themselves, just so that they can be safe. Because the law mentioned those that can use the force, and grandparents are not there.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. So, a major one that we hear is about children rather threatening their parents. I'm going to report. I'm going to call the police. I'm going to, get CFS involved or things like that. What can parents do in that situation, and how can they avoid, it's getting to that particular situation that, okay, the children, will be threatened to report them?
Okay, so when a child starts to make threats, at times they are empty threats, and there are times that it's actually coming from the fact that they've been abused, or they are going through something, they are dealing with something. Now, when your child threatens to call CFS, it's an opportunity for you to also reflect, to check, is there something I'm doing that might be making this child uncomfortable, that might be tending towards an abuse to the child. You want to find out at that point. You want to talk to your child, so you really know what's going on with your child. And it's also an opportunity for you to enlighten your child about what CFS does. CFS is there to protect children from abuse. So you might want to find out from your child, do you feel I'm abusing you? Do you feel what is there something I'm doing to you that you're not comfortable with? So educate your child. Also reflect as a parent to find out if there's something you are not getting right. So at that point, if you notice that, oh, I've been doing something wrongly, I shouldn't have been doing this to my child, then you want to adjust. And then if you know that it's just an empty threat, educate your child. Let them know that CFS is not there to destroy families. No. CFS actually wants families to be together. Parents should be involved in the lives of their children. It's only when it's not safe for that child to be in that environment that you see CFS step in, remove the child, find another family for the child. And even before taking the child to maybe another caregiver, they want to look in what are there extended family members that can still take the child in. So the goal of CFS is not to scatter families, but to keep them together. So let your child know that you can't just wake up and say you want to call CFS or call the police. It doesn't work that way. Okay.
Okay. All right. So bottom line, in as much as we are overwhelmed and all, we should still take out time to have conversations with our kids, get to know them, understand them very well. And also we should reflect, on some of our actions, especially when we are disciplining them. In a case where CFS finds out that a parent has been abusing the child and the parent then disagrees with that finding, can the parents, find a way for that to be appealed or revealed? Is there a way to go about that?
Yeah, so if CFS does an investigation and they come up with the come to the conclusion that a child has been abused, and then the parent feels otherwise, of course you can challenge that investigation. How do you do that? First, you want to start by getting a disclosure done. That means everything they have, everything they considered, reports, interviews they did, everything they give you that information for you to review. Okay. So if you're able to review by yourself, you can come to a conclusion yourself to know whether truly this child has been abused or not. And then you can also, maybe there's a particular agent that has been assigned to your case. You're not comfortable with the outcome, you can escalate. You can request an internal review for the whole matter to be reviewed all over again. You can do that. And if it's something that, oh, this matter went to court, we were in court for the matter and then the outcome was not favorable to you, you can appeal. You can ask for an appeal. Your lawyer can ensure that the decision is appealed to see whether truly there was an abuse or not. But it's usually tough, right? It's usually tough. But it's not as if it's not allowed or it's not doable. It's allowed. If you want that to be done, it can be done.
It's allowed, but there's just process that needs to be
Of
followed.
course.
Okay, all right. So what about the case where the family then wins the appeal? Can they then sue CFS for emotional stress and hurt?
Of course, they can take CFS to court to to ask for damages compensation, because when you go through that process, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's draining mentally, financially, because they have to get a lawyer, they have to take time off work to attend court hearings and all of that. So at the end of the day, it becomes like a flimsy, or there was really no basis for it. Sure, you can come after CFS, but one thing I know is CFS is very careful, because they also know what is at stake if it turns out that this was just it was wrong. It was, everything they did was wrong. Maybe the abuse, the conclusion, everything was wrong. They know that the consequences will be a lot for them. So they don't want to be in that situation as well. So parents can always, if they find themselves in that situation, they can always sue.
All right, thank you very much for that. So now I want to move into prevention, because a lot of parents want to know what they should do. You understand what they need to do to protect themselves if that ever happens. So what are some documents, records that parents should have, maintain in case CFS shows up at their door?
Okay, so for parents, one thing they need to know is CFS will come knocking at your door if there's an issue, if there's information from maybe the teacher or from a neighbor. Now, for example, there's information that maybe the child has an issue with a tooth and then nothing has been done about it. CFS wants to investigate, why haven't you taken the child to the dentist and all of that. So in that situation, what will help a parent there will be like a medical record, a medical report to say, oh, on so and so date we went to the dentist and they said this and that. But if the parent has not done that, that's an issue. That's a case of neglect. So you want to keep medical records. You want to keep school records. Like there are cases where kids don't go to school, they miss school a lot. So in that situation, if you have the school attendance, if you have that, that will help. If you're for maybe vaccination, every child is supposed to take their vaccines and all of that. So you want to keep record of that. So, and if your child, maybe your child is going through a mental breakdown, and you are taking the child maybe for therapy or whatever you've done, keep record of everything. So medical records, school information, vaccination records, all those things are very important.
So now coming to what you said about neglect and negligence generally. Let's say the kids are playing and then they sustain injury. What do you do in that situation? For instance, they go to school. Do you inform the teacher so that the teacher will not go and call CFS, something like that? Yeah.
So, as a parent, when you are always there when your kids are maybe playing around the house, and in the course of the play, one of them gets injured.
Yes.
In that kind of situation, you want to take care of the injury first. So, if it's a big one, you have to take the child to emergency and ensure that the proper treatment is gotten. And then you also want to tell the school, because you don't want teachers assuming, oh, and kids can be funny. So a teacher could say something like, "Did your mom eat you, or did your mom hurt you?" And then the child goes, "Yes, yes, yes, yes." So to prevent that, you just want to put out that information, call the school to say, "Oh, my child sustained this injury last night while she was playing with her sister." And if they still go on to report to CFS, when they come, it's still the same story, right? And so CFS is investigating. Their findings will definitely reveal that, oh, it was in the course of the play that the child sustained that injury, not because a parent hurt the child or something. So investigations, for me, it's okay for CFS to do their investigation. It's the outcome that is important. Most times they drop those cases, they close the file, they just say, oh, there was no case of abuse, there was no case of this and that. So for you, do your part. If it's a big injury, get help for your child, and also put out that information to the school.
So you were saying something about kids will always be kids. That okay, did your mommy beat you, did your daddy beat you, and the kid will be like, okay, yes. Which meanwhile, it's not really so, right? So in CFS investigation, how seriously should those words be taken, especially for like the younger kids, let's say up to like 5 years or something like that?
So CFS will not disregard that. If there's information from, for example, a 4-year-old saying, "Oh, my mom beats me," they won't disregard it. They'll do their investigation. But most times, because they are experts too, they know that these kids, they make up things, they just say things, so they know too. But it won't stop them from doing an investigation, because the essence of the law is to protect. So it will be a sorry thing if, instead of protecting or preventing something, you didn't do anything and something happened. In rare cases, it could be true that truly the mom is eating a 4-year-old. So CFS will not disregard their whatever they are saying. They will do their investigation. But if it's not true, they will find out that it's not true, and that case will be closed.
All right, so I want to ask this question because a lot of people would like to know. So CFS does an investigation and then they find out that the parents abused the child, right? So does it automatically mean that the parents will be registered in the child abuse registry?
Okay, so when CFS does an investigation, the outcome most at times will be that, oh, a parent abused their child. What kind of abuse are we talking about? And so there are cases where what is needed is, okay, we need to remove the child from the parent. We need to place the child in another household. We need to get this parent to attend some programs and ensure that they are rehabilitated, they are a better parent and all of that. So they know what is important at that point, what will be good for the parent, for that family and all of that. Now, for example, in a case of sexual assault, CFS's investigation shows that there was sexual abuse, sexual assault. It won't just automatically go to the registry. There has to be like a court process where the parents will actually be convicted for that offense. And then once they are convicted, then their names will go to the child abuse registry. And so also there are cases, there are some interventions where depending on the circumstance, it might not even get to the point of a conviction. They might just feel, okay, maybe this person is a first time offender and all of that. But sexual assault is a serious thing. So that definitely is not something that can be diverted. It's something that they want to look into. So it doesn't happen again. So the parents will definitely go to the court where there will be a conviction, and then the name will be on the registry.
So does that mean like spanking, using the belt and the likes does not make the parents be listed in the child abuse registry?
No, 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 no. So spanking a child, using an object, and so there are a lot of things CFS will consider. So there's an investigation. We saw a mark on the child and we realized, oh, this father is constantly hitting the child with a belt. At times they might feel, okay, we think this man should go for a dad's program, should take a parenting course. And so they might say, okay, dad, leave the house, let the child be with mom. When dad has attended those courses, those programs, dad can come back home and be with the child. So it's not automatically child abuse registry. It's just like I mentioned at some point that CFS is not looking out for families to destroy. They want families to be together. Yeah. So if it's just for the dad or mom to take a program and be a better parent, they want them to do that, and then they integrate them back.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. So let's go to the very first point of contact, CFS showing up at the door. What should parents be careful of saying and not saying? Because like I said, sometimes there's just this whole panic and all, and then you say some things and there are some things you're not meant to say. And then is there a risk if you are cooperating too much, or on the other hand, you are being too defensive?
Okay, so when CFS shows up at your door, if you are not in the right frame of mind to answer questions, it's okay for you to ask them to come some other time.
Oh, really?
It's okay, except it's an emergency. Okay. If it's not an emergency, you should let the official or agent know that, oh, I can't do this right now. And if you need to talk to your lawyer, you can always reschedule. But if you feel you're up to it, you can talk to them. Why not talk to CFS? So when you use the word too cooperative, I think I want to say don't be too cooperative. And what am I saying is, because if you are too cooperative, I think that what comes to my mind is you might get to that point where you are admitting things, you're making admissions. That's why I'm saying you should not be too cooperative. You should cooperate with them by answering questions. So when you are not too cooperative, that means you can think well, you can answer, oh, this person trying to get me to admit to doing something I didn't do. So if you are not too cooperative, you can draw the line and then you can refrain from admitting to something that you didn't do, right? So when they come, be respectful, be kind, respond to their questions, answer everything they want to know. Don't be confrontational. You shouldn't be confrontational. They are just there to help a child. They are doing their job. They are conducting an investigation. So you should be able to help in a way that investigation will be seamless. And if there's nothing to hide, then give facts. Oh, what happened to your child? Where were you on this day? Mention where you were. But when someone says, oh, you hit your child with a rod and you didn't do that, you shouldn't say, oh, yes, something. No, don't do that. Stick to what happened and don't just admit to anything. And if they want you to sign papers, so you shouldn't sign at that first meeting. You want to seek legal advice first before you start putting your hands into any document.
Okay, I'm very glad we're having this conversation, because if you know your rights and you understand this very well, you will not panic and you'll be able to talk freely, yeah, I'm very calm, because I believe some people are also scared. They don't really know. That's why, they might just admit to some things. So in closing, finally, for someone that has an active, CFS case or investigation going on, after listening to this conversation, what is that thing you want them to do immediately? That first step, that first action.
So if they've not started talking to a lawyer, they should talk to a lawyer. They should book a consultation and explain things. And when they talk to a lawyer, they know, oh, I think you need to retain a lawyer for this. There are cases where the matter might not go to court. They might not even draw up a safety plan. They might not be planning to intervene. It's just doing an investigation, but still talk to a lawyer, and your lawyer will be able to guide you on the next steps, on how to go about the matter. I've had cases where the parents will call and I just tell them, just talk to the official, ask questions, and let me know. By the time you come back to me, I'm able to tell if you need to retain me or not. There are times that they are just doing an investigation and they'll close the file. Nothing too serious, nothing to worry about. But there are some information you get and you know there's trouble. So at that point, you just tell them retain a lawyer. So for me, I always tell people seek legal advice at whatever stage.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, awesome. So just like for real estate, you work with the realtor. For CFS, work with the lawyer. It's very important.
Very
so that
important.
you get guidance.
Very important. CFS is protecting your child, who is protecting your rights.
Right. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. This has really, really been enlightening. So before we round off the Rutherfohrd review. So the first question is, what do most parents get completely wrong about CFS?
Most parents just they feel CFS is there to take their child away.
Okay. Then what is one thing parents say that can hurt them without realizing it?
So one thing I feel parents can say that can hurt them will be saying things that children should not know about, talking about their disagreements, husband and wife, talking about their disagreements to their children. That's very wrong. That's not something any parent should do.
Okay. Then what is one thing people are afraid of with CFS that isn't true?
So it's related to the first one.
Yeah.
Everybody feels once you hear CFS, your child is gone. CFS
removal.
is going to remove the child. No, that's not true.
Okay. Then what is one hard truth about CFS most families don't want to hear?
So most families are scared of when CFS has to take a child away from them.
And then finally, if someone ignores everything else, what is one thing they must not get wrong?
So in this situation, it's important that we raise our children right. It's very, very important. So whatever a parent does and whatever you do, have the best interest of your children at heart.
Okay. All right. So we've heard it from our lawyer herself. Once again, thank you very much for coming on the show and for shedding light on this particular topic. And I believe we've all gotten clarity. Please subscribe to Chat with Rutherfohrd. Share this video to as many. And also let me know in the comment section, okay, what you think, regarding CFS generally. Until I come your way again next time, it's Rutherfohrd here. Bye.